gang, people, folks, friends. Jen here with Samson, of course. We just went for a walk, so he's a little pooped. He's a little pooped. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you enjoyed yesterday with your families and that you remember the reason for the season. I'm going to do a little intro here for those who aren't aware of where this topic came from. I have to set some groundwork first so everybody that watches the video eventually understands where I'm coming from. If you do enter the live stream, please give me a hello or a heads up, just so I can determine if comments are working. I know not everybody likes to participate, and I've got some lurkers, which is fine. I don't mind. I lurk on some channels myself. I get it. I truly do. I know that people sub and unsub just so they're not connected with me, and I understand. Trust me, I understand that as well. Okay, so this channel is High Strangeness. It was the backup channel for my main channel, which was Bury and Jen. Bury and Jen was supposed to show my spiritual journey and walk with God. So those of you who are here for the High Strangeness, you will see that. However, please understand that it's going to be from a more, what do I want to say? I don't want to say Christian outlook, because that terminology has some negatives with it these days, and I wouldn't even say that I am a Christian in the way that it's defined today. I'm a Christ follower, of course, but that's my choice. Everyone else has their own choice to make. I don't try to push that on anyone, but I do speak from a biblical background. Why do I do that? I never believed in it myself. I do that because I found it to be true. Once you actually start digging into the history of the church, where it came from, how it was founded, it's not like the rest of history that you learn in school. It stands up to tests that you will put it through, and it stands up to the test of time. I was reading through some of the older books that I got at the consignment store yesterday. You'll be excited to know I have one from Francis Bacon called the Francis Bacon Essays. I don't know how I found it. The town I live in used to be called Baconsburg, so I believe there's some deception there as far as who discovered the town, because I don't think he gets credit for it, per se. And there's a story in it, and you have to understand, back in the day, like books in the 1800s that I have in my hand, that I found, literal books, they were all written from an ethical and moral standpoint. Even if not biblical, it was ethics that they were writing about and speaking about, and yes, discussing in respectful ways. Most people were not easily offended. They understood that, if they wanted to speak, they had to listen to somebody else speak, and that's how a conversation flows with, when you're trying to learn things. And so it's not that I'm not willing to learn, because I am. I studied the occult. I studied witchcraft for a long, long time. There are still aspects of it that I don't think today are quote-unquote traditional witchcraft. And what do I mean by that? And this is what we're going to get into in this video. I mean that I think we've been duped. I think that there are a lot of red herrings, which means fake stories to get you to look one way when things are really happening in another direction. So, and it's really cool. I just wanted to tell you, this book actually has one of the essays in it is called The Sister of the Giants, or Fame, Explained of Public Detraction. So it tells you the title of the story, and it tells you what the lesson is about. So it's The Sister of the Giants, or Fame. It's about fame, being famous. And then it gives you a brief description in the table of contents. It says, explained of public detraction. So that's the lesson you will learn in that story. But I thought it was neat. I opened up to a page about giants, of course. Whether they're literal or metaphorical is another day. So let's jump into it, because I don't want this to take forever. I want to be respectful of everybody else's time. This is a video you can listen to, but you are going to want to look at things at some point in time. You're going to want to take a look at the things that I show, or go look for yourselves. We also have to, we have to be discriminatory in what we believe. Not everything that we find on Google, on the internet, is truth. I try to go back to the original source of things. And what is the original source of all of mankind? Well, it is our Creator. Well, what is the source of our ethics and our morals and our civilization? What is our civilization and society built upon? In big part, it's built upon the ethics and morals and values that are found in the original Bible. And in digging, I think it's best to always go back to original sources if you can. So I will explain things from a biblical standpoint and a moral value standpoint, because I know what it's like to lose the track of those things, and that's the whole point of the channels, is to show growth and to show how you can change your mind at any point, no matter how many mistakes that you have made, and stop going down that road and carve out a different path for yourself. And it's supposed to be an encouraging channel. This is why I don't talk about, the technological toys that we can buy to hide us from surveillance equipment and whatnot. Listen, there pretty much is no hiding as far as that goes in this world. If somebody wants to find you or track you down, they will. If somebody wants to erase you or delete you that bad, they will scrub you from, the internet and any other evidence that you existed. That's what people do. However, I do believe God can protect the truth. Truth stands alone, and I don't think truth can be deleted, though it can be concealed. And that's what we're going to talk about now, is digging for those things. So if you had, hello, if you could say hi, that'd be great, so I knew if comments were working. So if you, I want to pose a question to you guys, because this is where this all started. If you had a group of people, okay, let's just say, for argument's sake, that the Bible is true, okay? If you had a group of people that you wanted to keep from their inheritance, from the quote-unquote promised land, if you wanted to keep them from paradise, and if you wanted to keep certain events from unfolding, how would you do that? And again, I'm going to reference the Bible, but we're going to, this affects all of us. This really affects everyone who is alive and walking upon the earth today, okay? So let's say that you wanted to keep certain events from unfolding and keep a certain group of people from knowing where to go and how to get there. The Bible tells us that in the end days, people will be awakened by the Creator, by the original source, the one who made all of this, the maker. I personally don't care what you call him. It's not my job to tell you that. It's up to you to have that type of personal relationship. But, God, the Creator, the maker, goddess, God, I do believe there's kind of a twofold look there, and I'm not speaking of any of the trendy topics today like transgenderism. I'm speaking of spiritually. Spirits do have a gender. Wisdom is a feminine trait, a value, spirit, if you will. And a masculine spirit or trait would be the spirit of, I want to say honor. Maybe it needs a stronger word, but that's kind of a masculine trait. It can be both, but you get I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So it says in the end days that a group of people will be awakened by the Lord, and that there will be this migration back into their inheritance, back into the promised land that God promised to them, back into Israel. And yes, I've heard all of the, I've done all the research. For those of you who don't know, I've been on YouTube for a very, very long time, watching and learning, and then talking and speaking and trying to relay what I've learned. And what I've learned is true, and what I've learned is not true. Again, truth needs no defender. It will stand on its own no matter how many people try to come against it. And that's why it's hidden. So if you had a group of people that you wanted to keep from getting to the promised land, well, why would they care? Why would anyone else care if some group of people got to the promised land? Because if this happens, that means events are unfolding for the end days of this age. I don't believe it's the end of the earth as a whole, personally. I don't believe that. I believe it's the end of an age, and all the people on YouTube who have bigger channels and they say they want to bring chaos out of order, they. let me be clear. That's a godly mandate. That is something that the Creator does. You can see it through nature. You can see one thing be destroyed, right? Through maybe rough waters, you'll see the cliffside erode, but it will create something new. God is orderly, right? But He has these other beings below Him and beside Him that operate and function through nature, and we can see these things happening. So if you wanted to keep a group of people from knowing who they are and from getting to the land that was promised to them, because with the main intent, because you did not want to see these events unfold, you did not want to see the end of this age, because for a lot of people, for a lot of individuals, let's say, for the fallen ones, and for those who follow the fallen ones, it is the end for them. And the Bible says that the fallen ones are trapped and they are under lock and key. That judgment has basically already, well, not that judgment has been passed, but there is some discrepancies as far as what to believe there, and we'll get into that at another time. In this video, we're assuming that this is true, that there's a group of people they're trying to keep from a certain land with the main intent of stopping these events from unfolding. If you're with me so far, a thumbs up would be of great help. And again, it's not for me, or it's not for the channel. It's just so I know, sorry about that. It's just so I know if I'm speaking in a way that's easily understandable. Okay, so if you wanted to keep this group of people from going to that promised land, to keep these events from unfolding, what would you do? Well, I know that through looking through history and through digging through books and websites and journal essays and credible websites and online college libraries, and that's what I do in my time, with my time, and not my spare time. That's what, when God puts something on me, I sit down and I stop what I'm doing, and that's what I look for it. And of course, I pray. So I found that these beings, that the bloodline of the Nephilim, whatever you want to call them, the bloodline of the Rephaim, the Canaanites, there's another, I found out actually another branch, the Nicolaites, Nicolaites? It's like Nicholas, but then with the I at the end, so I think it's Nicolaites. These individuals, right, that are related to these other fallen ones, and giants, quote unquote, of history, the ones who did great harm to humanity, and I'm not gonna say otherwise. They changed their names. They changed their surnames. They changed their first names. Some of them have more than one name in this world. That is strictly for the purpose of preventing witchcraft. If you know a thing's name, then you have power over it, if you know its real name. And yes, we're going to get into the names of the fallen ones on this channel as well. That will probably be next. If you do not have strong faith, I would suggest not watching that videos like that I put out. But it is information that some people are at a point in their walk will need to know. If you want to effectively rebuke something, and rebuke, let's be clear, doesn't mean just saying, I rebuke you. A rebuke is like strong words of a rebuke, right? Like when Satan was tempting the Lord in the desert. And he said, why not turn those stones into bread? And he said, well, man cannot live on bread alone. That was him rebuking Satan with the words of God. And they do have power. I know this. I use them myself. When you put verses into your daily flow of vocabulary, when you spit them out at people, they have no response. And I've seen it work, and this is how I know these things are true, is because for the sake of other people, for the sake of helping you guys, I have experimented with my own body, life, salvation to try and find out what is true, because we've been lied to so much. So they changed their names a lot. Like it's a thing, right? This is what they do. And they change it because they know they don't believe in the power of God being above everything. They believe that they have to protect themselves. And I'm not going to say if it's a good or bad thing. God gave me another name, and I don't tell people that name. I keep it to myself, especially for right now. And they can do whatever they want to the name of, the other name. And there are plenty of other people around with my same name. And so that's a problem for people. They change their name so that they can't be bound, and I mean bound as in spellbound. Spell work cannot be done upon their name. So when I thought about that, when I thought about how much they changed their names and they changed their surnames, there was an old video on YouTube. I have not been able to find it, and I'm telling you so that maybe you can look for it or something similar. There was an instructor, I think she was a college professor, and she was from the UK, and she was speaking about how, depending on where you're from, on the maps, they always make that the biggest landmass. But allegedly what she was bringing was truth about the sizes of the maps. And I saw America laid out beside the UK and England and, across the pond. And one thing I noticed, and this is when I started looking into inversion, one thing I noticed is that the two land masses are very similar, except for one looks upside down to the other. You would have to invert it to see how similar the shapes of the land masses are. So that started me on a long road. This information has taken a while for me to gather up and figure out. But I want to show you something, and then I'll explain this rock that we're looking at. But I want to show you this verse. It says, right here we left off, and we were talking about the fifth seal. And I talked about how men will seek death and they will not be able to find it. I think some of that's happening now. There are plenty of us who tried to delete ourselves and it did not work. And then you saw people on YouTube going to hospitals and they weren't actually seeing any patients, allegedly. So that was them seeking, looking for death. Because it also said there will be plagues coming, right? So you have to, this stuff unfolds, and a lot of it's happening at the same time. A lot of it's not in chronological order. Let me be clear about that. Things can happen here where I'm at, and then simultaneously something else is happening to somebody else somewhere else, right? I mean, we know this. You're doing your own thing, I'm doing my own thing, but they're being done simultaneously, independent of each other at the same time. We talked about how the locusts actually kind of, when I think about it, it makes me think of drones. Crowns similar to gold, that one eludes me a little bit. Faces like faces of men, because men control the drones. But it also reminds me of fairies. It reminds me of all the things that we've learned about fairies. And it had breastplates of iron, so we got into that. And they had tails similar to scorpions, and there were stingers in their tails. We talked about that, okay? And they had over them a king, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Doom, in Greek, destroyer, in Latin, exterminator. I think it also can be Leviathan. And I just found out the Baphomet sigil with the upside down pentagram, because the regular pentagram was actually the original Star of Solomon. It turned into the Star of David. Baphomet, of course, they steal everything that is godlike, and God created it. God gave every angel a name above that angel, and then gave them a specific principality in which their power is able to operate. If, for example, if there is a spirit over America, and that's the land it's meant to operate over, that same power, if they decide to forsake that estate, they're going to lose some of that if they go to another land. But they don't lose what they have just because they've turned evil. Let's be clear about that too. So we talked about the fifth seal, and I told you I think that's where we're at right now. It's a time of martyrs. We're not seeing the martyrs happen, but I believe they're happening. Again, seeking death and being unable to find it. Doesn't mean people aren't dying. It just means you can't find it as well. And most verses mean more than one thing. So this gets really deep. Anyone that says the Bible isn't true, again, you got to get yourself a copy of a physical one as old as you can, because the older it is, the the closer to the source it is, and the more you're able to see that no, people wouldn't have gone through all this trouble just to make something up, right? See how much you can review about the Sumerians, which I've looked into, and the Anunnaki. You can't really dig very deeply with that stuff before it disappears or falls apart. Again, that's because these beings rename themselves with every society of humanity, okay? That's the best way I can explain it right now. So if we look, and the sixth angel sounded the trumpet, and I heard a lone voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before the eyes of God, saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who were bound at the great river Euphrates. Now that's interesting, right? The Bible that I have, both the KJV, the one from the 1800s, and the Catholic, one of the original Catholic Bibles that I have, they both have in them a series of maps, okay? And we're going to look at that in the next video, or maybe, when there's time to do a part 2 of this. But there are maps in there. Okay, so and the four angels were released who had been prepared for that hour, day, and month, and year in order to kill 1/3 part of men. I believe we're entering into that time again. These things are happening independently of each other, okay? God's outside of time. He doesn't operate. He will operate within his own laws, in this system, but on the outside, he can see everything happening, and he pulls the strings, so to speak. But he does not interfere with our free will. And that's where God and these beings are different, because these beings will supersede your free will. They will lie to you, they will deceive you, and they will peer pressure you any way they can into sin. That's actually how I figured out eating meat was wrong. Because every time I give something up, there's something else that's pushed upon me. I have given certain things up, and I don't want to get too personal here. But, for example, I stopped... See, I can't even say it. I am basically celibate at this point. And I have people pushing food on me, but especially animal food, animals, dead animals, especially meat. That's how I figured out it was wrong. Because everything these people do is backwards. Everything they want me to do is bad for me. And you got to look around at the people that are around you. And again, I'm not condemning you for what you eat. That's not what this is about. It's about trying to help people see what is truth and what is not truth. So this is Joshua Tree, okay? This is Skull Rock at Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree is in America, correct? Okay, and this is where we're going to start, because this is where, this is what led me to these other things. So we're going to toggle back and forth between America and the Middle East, for lack of a better term there. And across the pond. The landmass is across the pond. And across the pond is what people in the UK say. I've had a few friends over there, and I've picked up a little bit of their lingo. Hold, please. Sorry, I need to drink. Okay, so this is Skull Rock in Joshua Tree, which is in America, right? Where Christ died, it is said... And again, I'm just doing this to show you that I know what I'm talking about, that I'm not talking about gobbledygook. Golgotha is where Christ died. They led him through to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of Calvary. And there is a skull rock at Golgotha. It says right here in John 19:17, and carrying his own cross, he went forward to the place which is called Calvary. But in Hebrew, it is called the place of the skull. That's key. Okay? The place of the skull. All right? So real quickly, let's look at something else. Oh, I got hit on the Euphrates River right now. We're going to look at Skull Rock in Israel. Because I want to show you something that maybe you've never seen. Whoops, sorry. This is Skull Rock at Israel. They say that it's this thing right here, okay? Does it resemble a skull? Slightly. But I want you to see some other images. And I want to mention this. I want to be very clear about some things here. I think it's very ironic. And look, if you look at if you look at what they're showing as a whole, it really is hard to see. Okay, do you see how it's kind of difficult? It's there, but it's kind of difficult, and of course it would be eroded after all this time. Things like that do happen. But if you see the rest of the mountainside, I mean, you got one there that looks like a skull, but that's not actually. And then you got this side that looks like you see what I'm saying? Pareidolia, when humans try to make faces out of shapes that they see to make sense of it, our eyes will see things that sometimes are not there. I know that as an artist to be true. So again, we're saying that it's right here, okay? Now, I find it very ironic. I went to Florida. I find it very ironic, number one, when they show us Israel, this is all we get to see. We don't get to see much here in America. They show us the same places over and over and over again. It's all caged in. It looks very private. They don't actually let people in there, I guess. So again, I just want to show you these things so that you can see what they look like. It's very hard to discern. You literally almost cannot see it. And there's a tomb, and we know there are tombs everywhere, caves all over the world, okay? Now remember this. Try and hold this in your mind's eye, okay? Because we're going to compare. Now look at that. Let's look at Israel. Let's take a look at Israel in the 1800s. Huh. Funny how the Weeping Wall looks pretty much the same as it did then, as it does now. Here's a picture in the 20th century. Oh, this is a rare color photo. They're all hiding their faces. Pay attention to that. Because it's very easy to take a picture and tell somebody this is today, this is yesterday, this is 20 years ago, and you don't have no way of knowing any different, okay? They're always showing us the same little section of it. We're never allowed to see very much of it, okay? There we have a castle of some kind. It's the wall. British Mandate of Palestine, okay? Always. They always show us the same basic places. Now let's look at the map real quick because this is important. That's actually a really good one. I'm going to save that because I want that. Okay, but you get the point I'm making. You can do this at your own leisure. It seems to be always the same corridor they're showing us. This is in the late 1800s. It looks pretty much the same today. When you watch a movie or footage of it, which I don't want to do for copyright reasons, but you can look for that on your own and see. They're always showing us the same darn spots of it. And this is what we are told is a person of Jewish descent, okay? That's what we're told. Okay? And I find it very ironic that, like, New York City and even Pittsburgh has what they call, like, Little Chinatown. They have all these, there's all these places with names, and they're double named or the same names. And again, I think that's for the purpose of misdirection. Dramatic pictures from the early days of Israel. This could be any random spot in Wyoming to Idaho. Again, we have deserts in America as well. And that's what I want to show you real quick. So remember Skull Rock. Keep that in your mind because that matters. Let's show Jesus's, what is the word I'm looking for? His walk through Jerusalem. Okay. And again, we have a lot of paintings here, and it's like you get to see the same little corridor, and it's not even a real photo. I wanted to see, like, the map. I wanted to see the walk that he took. Again, same basic wall. It's the same spot. You never see more than this. They never show you more than this. I used to watch Israeli news all the time. And again, that person on there is a dead ringer for my brother-in-law. Looks just like him. Doesn't talk like him, mind you. Looks just like him. I think we're dealing with the remnants of, what am I looking for? Project Paperclip. I think there's a lot of twins. I'm not going to get into the debate about clones. I don't believe in them. If I see the signs, maybe I will. But right now, I don't believe in those. Okay, so this is allegedly, we've got Jerusalem, Philadelphia, of course, Hippus, Canatha, Galilee, okay, and Capernaum, Damascus. All right, remember that. Remember what that looks like. And now we're going to look at something. You get the basic idea. You get the shape of things. You see the shape of things. Okay. This is a good one. I'm going to download that for a special purpose. Okay. So now we're going to look at the Euphrates. This is allegedly where there are angels locked up. Okay. Let's look at the little map they have. That's what it looks like. Here's the shape of it. Now, if you read the books of Adam and Eve, it says that there are, I think, 4, and that reminds me of north, south, east, and west, but I think there are 4 rivers that begin in Eden and flow outwardly upon the rest of the earth, is what the book of Adam and Eve say. Is there anyone here? Hello. There we go. Hi, Michelle. I always wondered why U2 named one of their albums The Joshua Tree. Well, we're going to get into... I'm going to mention something that is related to that as well. Thank you for being here, Michelle. It's always nice having your company. You're a lovely lady. I'm blessed to know you. Okay, so what is causing the Euphrates River to dry up, and how do we know that it is drying up? It says low rainfall, okay? When did it start drying up? 2006, it says, okay? And there was a civil war, nearly 500,000 people die. What does the Bible say? And the 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates and its water and dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Writes John, possibly the apostle, of a container of God's anger emptied on the ancient land of Babylon, now Iraq. I would strongly disagree with that. I think Babylon is, at this point, quite obviously America. The dude with facial hair and glasses on Israeli news resembles he looks just like my brother-in-law, just like him. And my husband used to watch that channel. Like, my husband watched all these channels before I did. And he does not watch them anymore. He does not watch TV. I think there is a lot of spell casting being done from videos. This is why I stay prayed up. They always want to know what book I'm reading, what movie I'm watching. And then they'll literally gaslight me to try and make me think like that's happening in my life. I caught on to that. I don't participate any longer. There are certain conversations they will start and I will walk away from. Like, I just got a St. Benedict, blessed St. Benedict medal for myself and for the dogs, and I got some extras to hand out. And it protects against, St. Benedict was sitting down to eat with, I want to say, an important king or something like that, and he was sitting down to eat, and he said a prayer over his meal, and he knew right away that it had been poisoned. So that's what St. Benedict's medal protects against, is poison and witchcraft. And my son was here yesterday with his girlfriend that looks just like my sister-in-law, not the wife of that one, another one. My husband has a few brothers and a sister. And so I have a couple of brother-in-laws and brother and sister-in-laws. I feel blessed to know you as well. So yeah, my husband watched all those channels first. And yesterday, they started talking about poison. And one man's poison is another man's, treasure, isn't it? And they like, what do you think? And I'm like, you know what? I just walked away from the conversation. Like, that's all they talk about when they're together, is some form of death or poison, and I know how spell work operates. I know how powerful words are. And so when they start talking about death and all that stuff around me, I don't participate. I walk away from the conversation. Family does not come around me anymore. I do not consent to being around the fallen ones, and I believe that's what I'm dealing with in this entire town. And they don't like me. They have a real problem with me, and that's understandable. I get it. I never did anything to them. They're the ones that ruined my life. So yeah, I have no problem outing people. I'm not going to give their names. I'm not going to do that. Um, I think it's best to walk away and not engage. Exactly. Exactly. I don't participate in it any longer. And my son used to give me a real hard time about that. Oh yeah, walk away. That's real adult like. And I would turn around and tell my son, you don't know that of which you speak. You're a child. You've never had a relationship. But once I caught on to what they were doing, and this is where studying the occult helped me. Not participating in it, but studying it allows me to recognize when people are attempting to bind me up with words. And I'm not going to lie, this whole journey for me, every day it's like untying a bunch of knots that have been tied up around me. Spiritually, I can feel it. And people don't believe me. They don't have to believe me. We're all born with gifts and abilities. God gives us all gifts and abilities, every one of us. And he does not take those away just because somebody falls or decides to go with the other guy. But he will limit them, and he will limit how they're used. And they operate by natural law. They know that they are bound by that. And so if you don't consent, they can't do anything to you. So I just walk away now. And I can't tell you whether or not the spirits of my sons were in those bodies and that they have just been turned, or that something else altogether has taken over my family. I prefer to believe that they're entirely different people or individuals and spirits. That's how I best cope with this. And because they behave like entirely different individuals that I did not raise and I do not know. And it's sad. Of course it's sad. And I pray for them every single day. Yesterday at church, I lit candles for them. It was so lovely, by the way. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I don't participate anymore. And I'm trying to tell you guys, don't engage, don't participate. And if you do, understand how to rebuke them. You have to know how to be strong in spirit. And they're not allowed in. If you're not sinning, they can't get in. That's why that thing couldn't get into my dream the other day, because I'm pretty much locked up at this point. I am celibate, which, fornication will let things into your life and your body. It's just, no matter who it's with. If it's not for the purpose of procreation, and they know this. Richie from Boston let that slip out one day doing a live video, and I heard him, and I was already on that trail, and I was like, I knew it. And he shut up real quick. And he had that guy on that everybody loves. But again, Richie from Boston, he's not of God. He is not of God. I don't care what I thought he was at first, and he helped to lead me to God, but he is not of God. Many people quote the Bible. That doesn't mean they're of God. And I'm not gonna try and be mean here, and I'm not trying to be superficial, but I ask God for a sign because I see the best in people. That's been my downfall. And he gives me a physical sign. And if you want to know what that sign is, it's called an imprecatory psalm. And there's a psalm where David asks God to knock out the teeth of his enemies. I think it was because, I'll get into why at another time, but there are a lot of very young people that don't have teeth. And everyone around me, when this all started, everyone around me was having tooth problems. And I'm not even kidding. Like, there was a thing in my kitchen, a little tooth repair kit, because that's how often a few of these individuals needed to tend to their teeth. And I didn't understand what it meant at that time, but I thank God there goes the ringing in my right ear, because yeah, that's a correct thing. That's how this is going to sound crazy, and I really don't care anymore. That's how my angel talks to me. They'll whisper in your ears, right? Left is for incorrect or wrong or sin or whatever, and right is for correct. I don't know how it works for you. That's how it works for me. I know people make fun of me. I know that I'm a laughing stock. I've already been told this. It hurt for a long time. It doesn't hurt anymore. Here's the thing. If I was wrong about these things, they wouldn't try so desperately to shut me up. So let's get into it. What does the future of the Euphrates spell for the Middle East? Where is the Euphrates in the Bible? A river named Euphrates is one of the 4 rivers that flow from the Garden of Eden. There it is. According to Genesis 2:14, it is the 4th river after the Pishon and the Gihon and the Tigris to form from the river flowing out of the garden. Okay? I believe the garden is somewhere here in America. We are a bountiful land. We have forests everywhere. I think that some of these beings that people see are protecting the gates of Eden until it's time for us to be let back in again. And I don't necessarily believe that everybody gets translated up to heaven. Enoch did. Moses likely did. But not everybody is holy enough to literally behold the Lord, right? Adam and Eve were in the garden. That's where God placed them from day one. I believe that we go back to the garden. I believe that is paradise. Do some people get to heaven? Sure. I don't know quite how it all works. I'm not there yet. I haven't gone through it. But if there's a way for me to reach out and tell you guys about it, I surely will. All right, so the Euphrates River is drying up. I want to show you what it looks like from the above again real quick, just so you can get a good look. Now, allegedly, that would put Eden up above Turkey, okay? They are always talking about the Mesopotamia being the cradle of life. Here's a better one. You can kind of see the shape of it. Honestly, it almost looks like a bull with the two horns on the top. See it? Can you see it? Like, it almost looks like a Grammy trophy or an Emmy with the little horn things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's look at something else I want to show you. Let's look at the Colorado River, shall we? Because I'm going to try and look something up for you guys, but it is very elusive. I will say that. Now, let's look at this, the shape of the Colorado River. Wow, that's pretty similar. And you've got more than one river. What's the other big river in America? Mississippi, okay? The Mississippi is another really big one. There we go. There's the Colorado River. Now let's see if the Colorado River is drying up, shall we? What does the Colorado River flow through? Approximately 1,450 miles and provides water to 7 states in the western U.S. that are part of the Colorado River Basin. Including the upper basin includes Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. And the lower basin includes Arizona, California, and Nevada. Okay? Are there 2 Colorado rivers? Ours is the other Colorado River. You see how it kind of... There's 2 branches of it, okay? Now, has that been in the news? Is there anything going on with that? The Colorado River flows at Horseshoe Bend in the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area in Page, Arizona. Now, again, we have to go back to the book of Adam and Eve. The book of Adam and Eve says that when they were evicted from the garden, Eve had a problem treading on the ground. It was hard. It was craggy. There were rocks everywhere. And God told them to make their home in a cave. In a cave, okay? Snowy wet winter brings drought reprieve, but it won't solve the Colorado River woes. What is the woe? Snowy and cool conditions that persisted across the west through last month will likely create a gush of water unlike any the Colorado River has seen since 2011. Get out of here. This is ridiculous. But it won't break a 23-year... Gotta take a call. We'll be back. All right, love. Nice having you. But it won't break a 23-year mega drought, okay? So the Colorado River, much like the Euphrates, is also drying up, okay? Let's look at a couple more images. I want to make sure I'm very clear about some of these things. This is 3 days ago. To save Colorado River water. Look how low it is, okay? Now let's type this in. Sammy's snoring. I apologize. I'm not going to take forever with this. I'm going to pose something to you guys, and I want to hear what you all think, okay? So this won't be super long. I apologize for the noise. I have the window open. You see? Drought and flow is a problem. That's what it used to look like in the above. That's what it looks like now. So the Colorado River, there goes that ringing in the right ear. The Colorado River is also drying up. What is it near, though? What is the Colorado River near? The Hoover Dam. Now, I'm going to look for this live while I have you guys here, or, you know, right now in the course of the video. I haven't looked this up yet again in a long time, but I want to show you something else. This is the Hoover Dam. Now, let's look at news from the Hoover Dam. What's going on there? It is closed. Can you go to a tour? Why is the Hoover Dam closed? Because of the nature of the structure and inability to implement social distancing standards. That was in 2020. What's going on there now? I wonder, can we get a tour now? Closed or not? Open to the public from 5 to 9. What kind of tour can you get there now, I wonder? Well, let's go to their website. Online tour ticket sales are temporarily suspended. On-site sales only. First come, first served. Okay? You can get a guided power plant tour and self-guided visitor center exhibit. Tours are available. Guided dam tours are currently unavailable. Now listen, watch this. Due to a scheduled event on Saturday, April 8th, some recreational areas will be closed. It doesn't say what that event is. Okay? Now let's take an above look here. This is what the Hoover Dam looks like now. Okay? Because of the nature of the Hoover Dam, it is very limited access on who can get where, when. I want to see that picture. What is that? There we go. So you can kind of see from above. Now, we're going to look something up that, again, I haven't looked up in a while, but I want you to see as I look it up. Angels guarding Hoover Dam. This was a video or a piece I saw years ago that there were fallen angels, that there were sleeping fallen angels or sleeping angels guarding the Hoover Dam. Down where nobody could see or you could see them actually if you got access to this certain area. So let's see if I can find winged figures of the Republic. So let's look. So this is where we get weird, right? And that's actually what I imagine angels to look like. Because, again, they're supposed to be unisex, no sex, or androgynous beings. A Norwegian-born sculptor created these soaring guardian angels at the entrance to Hoover Dam. The figures have aged to a greenish patina. Okay? But what if they're frozen like that? What if they're frozen in time like that? Now, it says we are told that there are angels guarding the Euphrates, right? These ones you can actually see, though. Look at that. And look how big they are compared to the people that are sitting below. You see the people there? Oh, I can't go back over it that way. Let me try and download this. See the little people down at the left? That looks like a full-grown woman and a child and maybe a man or an older child. Look at the difference in size. We are told that the angels are epically big. Why does the Hoover Dam, the Colorado River, have angels guarding it? You want to know my theory? You might not want to, but that's what the purpose of the video. I totally believe God gave this information to me. Some people nowadays call it a download. A lot of us are getting them. And let me be very clear. The messages that I bring should spread. Like I'm fine with that. It's all about me being hidden and God being glorified and showing people for your souls, because I love you, showing people what is real and what is not, and what is truth and what is not. And showing people that God loves us. God is still working here. God left guardians for us. And they will awaken at their specified time to do what it is they're supposed to do. I don't mind the message traveling. My problem is that when these people steal my information, number one, they're monetizing it. And number two, they're not giving God the credit. Don't give me credit. Say that it came from God. And admit that you're getting it secondhand. because a lot of these bigger channels, of course, that my husband used to watch all the time, end up sharing the messages that I share. I did a video about the Anunnaki statues carrying the little bags, saying that those little purses, I believed, were like how sometimes we have things that protect things from EMF rays and whatnot. I believe that's what kind of like little bag that was. And the next day, Leaked Project was talking about the same thing. That's not an organic flow of information, and that is somebody monetizing something that really isn't supposed to be monetized because it's coming from God. So I want to make that very clear. I don't consent to shenanigans. Not anymore. Admit that the information is that God is speaking to people. God is trying to wake people up through his angels. And again, I'm fine listening to other people's theories. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to see if you think this has any validity or it holds water. Hopefully, it will make you get a Bible and open it up. Okay? It's very possible that these are an effigy that a sculptor did in fact sculpt. I don't believe that. I do believe that angels are elementals, meaning they are made of elements. And depending on their principality and power, depending on how that specified angel works or operates, I believe that some are made of silver, like the Silver Surfer. Some are made of copper. Some are they are elementals. They are made of this stuff, much like we are made of earth, air, fire, and water. The angels are made up of elements. That's why the flesh was so appealing to them. That's why some of them fell, unfortunately. And they don't have hair. I don't think they have hair because they're pretty fascinated with other people's hair. So I don't believe they have hair. So let's look at another picture. Oh, is that the... Holy cow, look at that. That's... Oh my gosh. That is magnificent. Like, that is just magnificent. So it's very possible that this is an effigy to the angels who might be here. But I think this is the literal angels frozen in time until such a time as to where God awakens them again for their intended purpose next here on earth. Now, you can say anybody makes something. They can give any random name to things. Have you ever tried looking up Shakespeare? Oh my gosh, I don't think the guy existed. Like, I think maybe he was Sir Francis Bacon, but they look, totally identical. Maybe there are different levels of heaven. I don't know. The verse, God's mansion has many rooms. Exactly, right? And I think, when we're talking about a whole another time that has never occurred in history, with the end of this age and what's going to happen. I don't personally know what's going to happen. I have theories, but I want to see paradise. I want to see the garden. And of course, I want to see heaven too. So, I do believe there are different quote unquote levels to God's mansion, right? And I do believe beings can go to kind of like a different place. If we can go to Sheol, which is basically purgatory, a certain level of hell, but the outer level of hell, if we can go there to be refined, I'm sure that there are different places, we can aspire to, right? Because we aren't ended, right? I have a bad connection, still buffering. I'm sorry. Hopefully if you try to rewatch it, that wouldn't occur. I apologize. I don't know what to do about that for you. Now, what is that? That's really interesting. Figure detail, H dragon. Now, they just said the figure soar 30 feet tall, CGP gray, CC by 2.0. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's who I think that's who took the pictures. They're crediting the person who was there and took the pictures. Okay. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Oh, wow. Now I've never been here. Let me be very clear about that. I've never been here. I'm investigating all of this with maps and whatnot. The information, again, this was information given to me. They died to make the desert bloom. Wow. That's pretty epic, no? He's got the wheat and the grain there. And again, you see they barely have any hair, if at all. Oh, jeez, come on. Where did it go? Okay, see how big they are? That is so epic. That's like, I don't even know what to do with that. Maybe it's a good thing I don't travel because I would never want to leave certain places. That's just amazing to me. And that's a pretty intimidating figure. If you came across one of these bad boys walking down the road, what would you do? I don't think that I wouldn't mess with them. I mean, that's just me. But I wouldn't mess with them. All right. What does this say? It is fitting that the flag of our country should fly here in honor of those men who, inspired by a vision of lonely lands made fruitful, conceived this great work, and of those others whose genius and labor made that vision a reality. Credit the one who should be credited, though. Wow, that's beautiful. Atlas Obscura. Now there it looks like there's work being done. I want to get back to the main. Let's do this. Okay, view all photos. There we go. I want to look at this. They died to make the desert bloom. Well, who died to make the desert bloom? The United States of America to... I can't read it. Goobers. I will save these and bring them to you guys. The star map floor at the base of the sculpture. Huh. Isn't that interesting? Curiouser and curiouser. A coin. So there we have the stars. And everybody says, oh, these are Masons. These are... Please understand, God made everything first. Okay? Lucifer copies things. To credit Satan instead of the Lord is offending the Holy Spirit. That's like when the Pharisees said that Christ's miracles came from Satan. Okay? Now it says the angels are verdigris patina, not gunmetal patina, which would be gray. So now they're making up excuses as for why this is that and that is this. Again, I believe they're totally elementals. I believe they're made of elements. Okay? All right. So we have here actual proof or some type of effigy to angels in the Colorado River. What I would like to pose to you is that the Colorado River is in fact the original Euphrates. And I do believe that. I don't care that I've never been there. Prove me wrong. Time will tell. But both of these rivers are allegedly drying up. They want us, and remember this about the media, right? Remember this about the fallen ones and the hidden hand. They want us looking in another direction. Didn't every YouTuber who come on here and started teaching us about these others? That's one of the things they taught us. And these people got big channels because they want to be able to say, hey, we told them what was happening. And they didn't listen, Lord. So they're the ones at fault. I'm not giving the earth that was given to man that has Eden on it to these fallen ones. As long as I'm here, as long as God allows me to be on this terra firma, I'm not giving it up. God gave it to us. We have hierarchy over these beings. We are above them in the hierarchy. Mary did not have that enmity with her and Satan and give birth to the Lord just to be disrespected and for it all to go down the toilet all these years later. All these women who fought for our Lord and our faith, like Mary Magdalene, the Mother Mary, Judith, Ruth, Esther. I'm not going to I'm not going to be one of the ones guilty of saying, oh, sure, take it. No, they can't have it. It was given to mankind. They had their own estate. They gave it up. They did not want it. They wanted ours. And now they're trying to prove to the Lord, the God in heaven, that we are undeserving of it. Okay? And they want us looking for all of these things to happen over in the Middle East in some country far away. It's not happening, folks. I was watching a travel blogger not too long ago, and he was trying to say that he was at one of the pyramids. And he was trying to say he was doing a video inside of the pyramid. This is all I'm allowed to show, da da da. And he acted choked up, but you could tell he was laughing behind his mask. And behind him, it did not look like stone. It looked like metal piping. Wherever he was not the actual pyramid. I don't think you're allowed to take pictures inside. I wonder why. Because I don't think any of that's real. I really don't. See, God would make this fair, right? If the creator of this place, no man is going to be able to be without excuse. And God would want this fair. Okay, so say all of the children of Israel wake up. Say all of God's children are woken up. What if some of them are in America? What if they can't fly to get to Israel? God would make this fair to everyone. It would be within eventual walking distance of all of us. That way, if you didn't have a car and you couldn't get in a plane, it was no big deal. And I have my doubts about flight anyway, about what it really is and what's really happening there. And I don't care how crazy it sounds. And they've always wanted to end people who told the truth. And for most of my life, in most things, I have been a truth teller. I just can't stop it from coming out of my mouth. It's like a disease. It's like word vomit. It just falls out. I can't shut up. God doesn't want that of me. And I'm sorry. I don't mean to, I'm not pushing my faith on people. I'm saying that what they're telling us is a lie. It's all lies. Now they want us looking over there, much like the hidden hand does. Look over here. Look over there while the magician does his trick over here. They want us all dead in our sin and they want us asleep. Okay? They know judgment's coming. That's why they're pushing sin upon us like never before. I believe America is Babylon. Now let me show you something to back this up, because again, there are going to be people say I'm crazy. It will be all right in the replay. Sorry, Michelle. I'm sorry. Maybe if you want, you could rewind the video a bit and then start it again. And that should fix any buffering for you. I apologize for that. I don't really know how to get a better signal. I have my mobile data on and my Wi-Fi on. There's a little better of a signal. Please, Lord, if you want this message to go out, please let it go forth. Okay, so let's look at this. Hello. So let's look for the Egyptian artifacts. So you're going to want to catch up, Mr. Vomdak, brother. I believe that the true Euphrates River is the Colorado River. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know if, it's just the people of Israel being kept in this place they're told is America. But it's funny that USA is inside of the word Jerusalem. I've always found that interesting. And since I started saying that, I see other people typing it and talking about it in their videos. That is epically awesome. Again, I don't consent for these messages to be monetized to the extent that they are. Other people are banking off of what God is giving me. And I don't consent to that. You got to give God the glory. You got to give God the credit. This information I have came direct from God. And I believe I am one of these children of the tribe of David because I was woken up at that time. Okay, so we are also now finding that there are Egyptian artifacts being found. Memphis uses ancient Egyptian artifacts. Isn't that funny? A 3,000-year-old Egyptian artifact was seized by customs officials in Tennessee. Looted ancient sarcophagus returned to Egypt from U.S. I don't know about that. But on and on it goes, okay? They have been finding things, and it started in 2018 when most of us were starting to wake up. They are finding Egyptian artifacts in America because I believe America was the original Babylon. I truly do. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie about it. I can't lie about these things that God gives me. It's the truth. So, I want to show you the last thing. Let's look again at Golgotha Rock, Skull Rock in America, in the U.S. This is Joshua Tree. Let me ask you, how would you pronounce Joshua Tree if it were, I don't know, Hebrew? Yes, J is a new invention. J is a new letter, okay? It was not around 500 years ago. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean Jesus didn't exist, because in Latin, it's I-E-S-U-S, Jesus, okay? And in Hebrew, it is Yeshua. Well, if you pronounce Joshua and Yeshua, they're the same name. One is Americanized, the other is not. I believe that Joshua Tree is Yeshua, and it marks the spot. And I've always loved maps and the Goonies and all that stuff as a kid. It marks the spot where Christ died at Calvary. And I believe that was in Joshua Tree. I also believe that Las Vegas may have originally been the holy city referred to in the Bible. It has both capitals. It has two words. Nowadays, holy city is Vatican City. Do I believe that? I believe that's what they want us to believe. Okay? But I believe this is... God would not put us all so far apart that when he woke up his children, they could not get to the Holy Land by foot. God wouldn't do that. Or he would translate them all. Angels would take them where they all needed to be. Right? God is not the author of confusion. He's not the author of misdirection. And this place, this, what do they call those things? Like with that movie with this biodome was created fairly so that every man, woman, and child can access the things that they need spiritually and physically. Much love and blessings to you as well. So it would not be fair. It has to be fair, right? It has to be a fair quote-unquote game. The rules have to be for everyone or no one. That's how God works. Now everybody will be judged differently. Everybody does have different giftings, abilities, principalities, and powers that they operate within. So they're judged differently in that way. Absolutely. Okay? But here, in the way that the quote-unquote game is set up, God would not make it so that his children could not get back to the promised land, to their inheritance, by foot. I believe that the Native American Indians are one of the lost tribes. They very well may be the Jewish people. And I think that the people that they show us that are Jewish people are in costumes. I think they've lied about everything. All of it. All of it. And if you look at it that way, if you don't believe me, start digging. Look at some of the pictures of the Weeping Wall. It's always the same. Look at some of those men who are supposed to be godly men. It is the synagogue of Satan, SOS, son of Sam. There was not one man doing all those killings. There was more than one. That's how they hide persecution. That's how they hide the killing of martyrs. That's how they hide martyrdom, is through the media. Most of the people going missing in the national parks, they are martyrs. Not once. That's the one aspect Polides does not cover. I want to know what religion those people are that go missing, because I believe that they're martyrs. Hello. Welcome. This should be a video very interesting to you. I did not want it to run this long, but it deserves a lot of... Yeah, you have to be thorough when you're telling people that everything they've been told is a lie. And again, I'm not a world traveler. God gave me this information. And I'm tired of seeing the big channels monetize it and not give God the glory. Again, I'm supposed to be hidden too. This isn't about me. It's about God. God is working. God is calling people. And we need to listen. Now, I've been compelled to go to Joshua Tree, and I don't know why. But I'm pretty much ready to walk there, and I don't think they can stop us. I don't think they're allowed. Legally speaking, through the legalistic laws that this place is set upon, I don't believe they're allowed to stop us. I think all those cop shows are to scare us. I'm not saying cops don't have authority. In this system, they do. Okay? In the system, they may. But you give them that authority when you give them your ID. You hand them that authority when you give them your name. And you give them consent to search this, that, and the other. While they're searching you, it's very easy to plant things. It's my opinion at this time, most of the people in jail are innocent. And Satan is the accuser. A lot of people accusing the Catholic Church. Again, do your history. I think it was the first church. Please be very careful about vilifying that church, because I did it too. And that's when I became demonized. And again, I have no agenda. I make no money from these things. Although it would be really nice to be able to get on a bus that'll take me to Joshua Tree. I might have to walk there, and I'm not going anywhere without Sam. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. But God is calling his children back. And God is calling us to the truth and awakening us to the truth. And most people do not want to hear it. So I went over Hoover Dam, Euphrates, being I believe the Euphrates River. So in a nutshell, if you missed everything, I believe that Joshua Tree can be easily translated to Yeshua Tree. It is the same word with different pronunciations because it's a different language. I believe that Skull Rock or Golgotha and Calvary are in Joshua Tree. I don't believe that they are, in some foreign lands to us. God would not do that to his children. And the Israeli Golgotha rock does not even look like a skull to boot. And they're always, whenever they show us anything over in Jerusalem, it's always the same little pieces. I think it's very possible that it's Florida that they're showing us. Someplace in Florida and or someplace in the Grand Canyon that they set up just to deceive people. I know how this sounds. I do. I know how this sounds. But I've been there. Did you see it all? Were you allowed to see it all? Were you allowed to just walk through as you chose? They have no authority over us. And I'm trying to encourage you and edify you and give you holy boldness and courage to walk the rest of this out in your proper authority and sovereignty over this land. Now, God has sovereignty over us. I'm not going to dispute that. But we are little g gods here. Christ told us that. We are sovereign. We have no reason to fear these other beings. None at all. Does martyrdom exist? Yes, but I believe you have to give consent for that as well. And or God, takes certain things in his hand to the betterment of his children. The two witnesses are pretty much going to die in front of everybody and raise up in front of everybody to the point that people then will believe and they will be shivering and shaking and trembling in fear. And the Bible says that. So again, if you're here for high strangeness, nothing is stranger than being lied to about where you're born, your name, who you are, where you're from, who other people are and where they're from. And again, it's all to divide us. It's all simply to be divisive. They're not God's children. Christ said that as well. You are of your father, the devil. He said that. We've got to start paying attention. We've got to be smarter than them, because this land is your land. This land is my land. It's ours. Ours. They have no right to be doing any of the things that they're doing without our agreement. And I don't agree. Any contract I had with these beings needs torn up because I'm going the other way. I'm changing my mind, which is also our right as human beings. We have the option to change our mind and change course anytime we choose. That's nobody else's business what you do. Don't be bullied. Don't be pressured. Don't let anyone else tell you what you should be doing. Listen to your conscience, which is the Jesus Christ within. Listen to your internal Jiminy Cricket, Jesus Christ. Again, it is so easy, even a child can do it. Disney is not all bad. They are teaching us, and even Greek mythology. The Bible is greatly covered up. It was concealed because they did not want people knowing those truths. But there are God's children, there are God's people working too. And I believe they told us certain stories so we would learn the same lessons. No one is going to be without excuse. Now here's the most interesting part of all this. Sorry for the typo. I did a screenshot and a typo. I wanted to know how far Joshua Tree was from the Hoover Dam, where we see the angels guarding, what I believe is the Euphrates River. Because here's the thing, Christ's walk, when he was carrying his cross, went a few miles, allegedly, or went a long time, okay? And I want to see how close these places are to each other that I believe are other places than what they told us. So Joshua Tree, if Joshua Tree is actually Yeshua Tree, okay, and that is where he was hung on the tree, okay, and that is where Skull Rock is. I mean, if you can't look at that and get it, I don't know what else to say. Joshua Tree is Yeshua Tree. It's where he was hung on the tree. It is Calvary. It even has a skull rock right there to mark the spot. God would not allow these things to be covered up. You just have to look for them. So how far is Joshua Tree, Yeshua Tree, where he was hung from the cross? How far is it from those angels in the Hoover Dam, where I believe the Euphrates River, the original Euphrates, which is whatchamacallit, okay? Oh, sorry. Look how far away it is. That's what first comes up. We're looking at the first option here, okay? It's the shortest and the most popular. It is 3 hours and 30 minutes away. Where do I live? In an area code that's 330. What's my address? It starts with 33. Over and over and over again, it follows me everywhere. Also, 222. 222 has been a big number since 2020 began, because what is hindsight? 2020 vision, right? There you got 222. And I'm going to look up what those actually mean specifically, but I find that very telling. And honestly, for me, it's a clue that I'm going in the right direction. Funny how these are directions, right? That's what I think. I want to know what you all think. I want to know if you think I built a decent case for this. I don't want to hear from the trolls. You'll just be blocked and I will just delete your comments if we cannot all discuss things as mature adults. And yes, I if you disagree, tell me why. Tell me what, where I should be looking for information. Because we can't believe everything we read online. But again, I think that we were hornswoggled, as I like to call. I think everything is the opposite of what we've been taught. We know this place operates on inversion. If you don't know it by now, then you are of the blind. I'm sorry. Everything is upside down and everything is backwards and inside out from what we've been told. I believe that's the original Euphrates River is the Colorado River. I believe Joshua Tree is actually Yeshua Tree, where he was hung on the tree. And Hoover Dam even has the angels guarding it, as we are told are guarding the original Euphrates. So, that's it. That's all I have. I'm going to run. I have things to do today, but I do believe I built a good case for this. I do believe I'm getting this information from my guardian angel, my angel, whatever you want to say. Joan of Arc said the same thing, that she talked to her angels. And she was burned at the stake for what? All they could get her for was dressing like a man, because she wore pants to protect her chastity. Skirts aren't really good for that type of thing. I know, because I'm trying to operate in that way now. Your eyes are opened when you give up certain things, and when you are willing to deny your flesh. Things come upon your spirit. And I don't know how else to prove it to anybody. I've done the best I could over the last 3.5 years. God called me back about 5 years ago now, but I've been doing a very particular type of witnessing for the Lord for 3.5 years. I feel like I'm on borrowed time, but I'm not moving. I am not moving. I am not giving up the land that God gave us until, number one, God tells me to. And number two, somebody else understands and will be left behind to tell these beings, no, you cannot have this land. It's ours. It was given to mankind. They gave up their estate. That's not our fault. I love you guys. Stay prayed up. Bye.